To make a Mother's Day cake, I'm going to start off with a 10-inch board and some pink sugar paste, and I'm going to roll that out on a lightly greased non-stick board. So when you roll, lift and turn and keep the sugar paste in a nice round shape. Take your smoother and just do a little bit of smoothing off there. And then I'm going to lift the paste onto my board. Smooth again. And lift and trim. So I'm keeping the knife parallel. So trim round. Now I'm going to attach the ribbon around the cake board at this stage, and the reason for that, when I've got the ribbon round, I can use my smoother and take the paste up to the ribbon so you don't end up with a gap around the edge. So when you've trimmed round, I'm going to then attach some double-sided sticky tape around the board. And then attach a piece of ribbon. And then with the smoother, take the icing right up to the edge of the board so that you get a contact and you don't end up with a gap. So I'm taking a small piece of the sugar paste and I'm adding water to it and just smooth that down so it forms a glue. So I'm going to smooth a little of the glue onto the centre of the board, and then I'm going to place a second board on top of that, and I've taken the icing over the edge. So that is a 9-inch board, so it's slightly smaller than the base board. And then take some more icing to the centre of that, and I already have a little 6-inch cake, 5 inches deep, so I'll just pop that on top. And the icing that I have left, I'm just going to pop that into a paper bag. And I'll use that for piping later. I'm not putting a piping nozzle in there, it's just literally into a paper bag. So roll that down so that you have a good cushion to push against. I'll put that to one side. So I've cut a piece of ribbon to fit around the cake, and I've attached a small square of double-sided sticky tape, and I'm just going to wrap that around, making certain that the seam is in line with the seam on the board, like so. And that's now ready for the decorations. So I've rolled out a piece of black flour paste on a lightly greased non-stick board, and I'm going to use a selection of the cutters from our family set and put plenty of tracks on the cutter, especially narrow areas such as the ankle, and then I'm going to place that on, press firmly. And one thing, when I've rolled out the paste, I don't lift it up and down from the board. I want that to stay down on the board so that when I flick the cutter away, the paste won't lift into the cutter. So continue cutting out all the little figures. As many or as few as you wish. Just make sure that you've pressed firmly. Right, and also I'm going to cut out some letters from the same paste. This is using our large alphabet and key set. These are the capitals. So when you've bought them, twist them away from the frame, and then you can always fill a box with sponge, make little slits and stick them in. So then you can know instantly where they are. You're not rooting through 26 letters. Just a little tip for you to keep them in place. So, like the figure cutters, you just place the letter on there, whichever letter you want. Give a little flick, just wipe away any of the excess. And then I'm going to use a cocktail stick just to remove any parts that I don't want. And then pull the paste from around the outside edge. And then I'm just going to remove that so I can get at it. And then lift that onto a sponge pad to dry. And pop that on there. So when you put it on the sponge pad, just if it's gone a little bit out of shape, just push it back into shape again. Likewise with the figures, pull the paste from around the outside edge. Any small pieces, such as the ponytail, then use your cocktail stick to lift that away. If you haven't got a small knife, then you can lift things with a piece of card, thin card. So we'll go on to the next figure. Pop that on the sponge. And the little baby here. Pop that onto the sponge. There's a small piece there that just needs to be removed. And finally the larger figure. So pull the paste around the outside. And always make sure the paste goes back either into a bag or under a little pot because it does dry out very quickly. And there is a small piece on here that I need to remove, and on here. Now because this is a long piece, I will use my card. If I lift with a knife, it could distort more, so I'm just going to slide that card underneath and pop that onto there. Now, if you're going to have the figures, the letters freestanding, you need to have those dried overnight. The little figures here, because they're going on the side of a round cake, I'm only going to leave them for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes maximum. That gives me enough time. They won't distort when I lift them up. Because it's black icing, once it goes on the cake, you can't slide them about, so you have to be pretty sure where they're going to go. So just leave them for 10 minutes, and that will give you time enough to be able to lift them up, and they'll hold the shape, moisten the back with water, and attach them onto your cake. So while these silhouette figures are drying, I'm going to make a simple rose top here, and to begin with, I'm going to have a small piece of green paste, so again flour paste, and just roll that out, maybe on a little shortening if it's too slippy. Just a little shortening will keep it on the board, and then use your smoother just to roll over, and that will bring it to the same thickness. It just evens it out. So just a nice little roll there, and then I'm going to attach that with a little water onto the top of the cake. So place that on the top, and then you can use your scissors just to cut the end, and maybe a bit shorter there. So I'm going to attach a rose on top. Now the rose itself, I've already have a tutorial out showing how to make this little tea rose. and these are just from my store cupboard. So I'm going to use a little of the sugar paste that I softened earlier on top, and then I can pop the rose on there. And likewise a selection of leaves. So I'm going to go down with a medium size. So a little icing at the back, and just going to pipe a little icing on the back there. I've attached the semi-dry figures onto the cake using a little water on the back, and now I'm going to place the dried letters into position. And for spacing, it's easier if you actually place them on the top surface first of all. Just move them into position. And likewise around the base. Then I'm using the small bag of softened paste and cut a small hole in it. And then behind each letter, just pipe a little icing. So that you can stand it. You don't want too much, and you don't have this icing too soft, because the letters will slide down the cake. Use your brush to remove any small bits. And then around the base. And if you do have any flour paste left, you can also cut out a few little hearts just to add onto the lettering. So to finish the cake, attach a piece of ribbon around the second board and decorate with 2 small hearts.